Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Ola coming to you live from my Empire Pro Studios. We are right now on Sharp Edge News TV. Do us a favor, please. Hit like, share, subscribe, follow, turn up your notifications so you are notified when we go live. We have a fantastic show lined up for you today. Today, we're going to cover updates from Kemi Badenoch. Today we're going to cover some updates with regards to some FBI files regarding Martin Luther King Jr. Shout out to the Trump administration. We're also going to, of course, cover our main headline today, which is the Senate divided over Natasha Akpoti's return. Battle lines drawn. So, like I've just said, hit the like button, share, follow, subscribe, turn up your notifications so you're notified when we do go live. All right, so without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, get ready to welcome a man of two powerful roles, publisher of SharpEdgeNews.com and High Chief Odokwetu of Ayide Ogbese. Whether in the newsroom or in the kingdom, is always ahead. Give it up for the legend, Mr. High Chief Oladimeji Abitogun. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Ola. And it's good to be back. Let me commend you for how you keep this going on a weekly basis. But more importantly, our appreciation to our viewers the world over who are always constantly with us and they know what this is about. It's about our community. It's about our passion. It's about a better world than the way we met it. And making sure that we are poised to really dish it back to those who want the world to unravel. That said, thanks for bringing me back, Ola. And now, let's start this week's program. Good to be back with you.
Go for it. Go for the weekly special.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'd love to make this short again. I hope I will be able to stick to that commitment. Well, the feedback from the Black community, African American community, and immigrants community all over the U.S. is not looking too bright at this moment. It looks like some people twisted vision of making America great again is really beginning to look like what people had thought it would be. Making sure that the stereotypes are dug up and then they are reinforced, and everybody feels this time around that the Black person or persons of color should be treated as if they are the dregs of the earth. And yet that is not the purpose of our being. Every man is equal, and color pigmentation does not make anybody less important in the order of creation. So, what is the kind of feedback we're getting? Small town sheriffs walking up to Black folks who are doing nothing wrong other than trying to relate with each other and be happy. And you can be asked by, a man of 50 or a person of African descent of, say, age 60 can be walked up to by a teenager who is of Caucasian race and asked, are you staying out of trouble? Would you not consider that to be rude coming from an adolescent or a teenager or a young police officer asking an African American or somebody who is an African immigrant who is well settled in America, asking such a grown-up if they are staying out of trouble? Well, to the African, respect comes with age. And some people would say, oh, it has to be earned, it's not demanded. Nobody is demanding any respect, but you see it on the face that this person is older than you. You should be the one asking the question the other way around that, oh, stay out of trouble, young man. But you're walking up to an adult now, a grown-up, a grandfather, because of racial stereotype. Are you staying out of trouble? And a fellow African immigrant was sharing with me his experience at work. He does everything on the schedule, what is never been used to. And a team lead or what is known in some places as supervisor will come to him, oh, go finish that task. And the moment you finish, come back to me and let me know. And it's not supposed to run like that. It's almost like subjecting such a grown African immigrant to slavery experience and trash talk and all kinds of stuff going on. People do not respect medical restrictions for people of African descent anymore. They just want to work and work until they drop dead. So understand. And there are people who feel like, oh, they've been sucked into the circle of Caucasian races. And they imagine themselves, for example, Italians never used to be respected in this country at a time. They were treated like slaves. But today, they have also been brought into the circle of people who see themselves as being racially superior. How about Hispanics in this country? They too want to see themselves as being superior on that social wrong. So we are highlighting all these things, spotlighting all these things so that you can understand the gravity of the situation that we are dealing with here. At the end of the day, when they push all stuff in your face, do not get angry. Disarm them with positive and warm personality, and study the rule of the company where you work or the community where you live. If it is wrong, let them know they can't cross certain lines. And cultural sensitivity would help a lot concerning this. Like I promised, I do not want to dwell too much on this topic, but if they come at you determined to go solo, can you please set a goal for yourself? Objectively, you go I and I and I as much as you can. But do not let anybody put you down. This also shall pass. And remember, some people came before us, not just in shackles and chains, but some also were unfortunate to find themselves on all kinds of situations that make people want to feel like their human worth means nothing. In this time and age in which we live, understand that your humanity means so much and everything. And when the champion that set the tone for this kind of evil manipulations is no more there, it would also be all right. But before we get to that point, let us hold on to our humanity. Understand that you are not created less than anybody. And like I told you, disarm them with one and cheerfulness. They want to make you hungry. Say, no, that is not the place you want to be. That said, let us start this week's informed commentary. Good to be back. Thank you so much, Ola.
Thank you, sir. Welcome back. Welcome back. You can hear me clearly, correct?
Yes, I can.
All right, good. Do us a favor, hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications. We have a fantastic show lined up for you today. Shout out to Babes Wind in the chat. I see Blossom Show in the chat. Welcome, welcome. Right now, we're going to jump right into.
Thank you to all of you that are already hooked to us, and we promise that we all will have a good time.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications so you're notified when we go live. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. My kids can't be Nigerian because I'm a woman. I don't know where we're going with this, but I'm going to read the short excerpt and then we can talk about it.
Yeah, that's the Kemi Badenoch
statement. Yes.
Yeah, misspeak, and she is wrong. She is completely wrong. She doesn't get it just because of who she is. Please go ahead.
All right, great. All right, so according to Premium Times NG's a report here says the leader of the UK Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch, claims that she is unable to pass our Nigerian citizenship to her children because she's a woman. This is despite the fact that the Nigerian constitution does not discriminate against any gender when passing on Nigerian citizenship. The Nigerian constitution states that any person born outside Nigeria is automatically a citizen of Nigeria if either of their parents is a Nigerian citizen at the time of their child's birth. Ms. Badenoch, however, said on Sunday that while many Nigerians are taking advantage of the UK's relatively easy citizenship acquisition process, it remains, and I quote, virtually impossible to obtain Nigerian citizenship. While speaking with CNN's Fareed Zakaria during an interview, the 45-year-old British politician said there was a need for the UK to tighten its citizenship and immigration policy. She used our children's alleged inability to get Nigerian citizenship to illustrate the stark contrast between Nigeria's approach and that of the UK. And I quote, "I have Nigerian citizenship by virtue of my parents, but I can't give it to my children because I'm a woman," she said. Yet loads of Nigerians come to the UK and stay for a relatively free period of time, acquiring British citizenship. We need to stop being naive, she added. Despite being born in Nigeria to Nigerian parents and migrating to the UK at the age of 16, Ms. Badenoch has repeatedly criticized the UK's immigration policy, which she says makes it too easy for citizens of Nigeria and other countries to move to the UK. She has consistently called for stricter immigration controls. And I quote, "We are allowing our tolerance to be exploited. That is not right," she said in the CNN interview. Nigerians would not tolerate that. That's not something that many countries would accept. There are many people who come to our country, to the UK, would do things that would not be acceptable in the country.
When you say UK,
I say UK.
Yeah, that's Australian accent. When you say
that was my attempt. That was my attempt at the UK accent.
Accent.
Yeah. What do you say to this one, sir? Go ahead. You do.
Thank you very much. You know, in the past, because of my penchant for defending free speech, I said Kemi Badenoch should be left alone. Whatever she's been doing to really curry the favor of conservative political circle in the UK. But now I'm beginning to think that she is a dangerous person, and she wants to say and I mean this really. She wants to say anything to really drive the. Yes, she will lash onto anything in order to find justification for the way in which she has really stamped herself firmly as a kind of quote and unquote Uncle Tom. You know, the slave in the house slave is always thinking that he or she is better than the ones outside.
The house ninja.
The house nigger. And we are allowed to use the N word because we can play around it, but no.
I said ninja. I said ninja.
You said ninja anyway.
Yeah.
Let me use. I withdraw that because
Okay.
I do not want us to be flagged. But to use the N word and the house, yeah. What she is doing, there is no way anybody would say that her children cannot become Nigerian citizens. That is her being tormented by, since she has said the narrative, a kind of narrative she wants to push out there in order to justify her questionable embrace of what is ultra-right, extreme right-wing agenda of shutting out migrants from United Kingdom. And she should understand that if this agenda she's setting, that she is pursuing so aggressively, had been pushed against her parents in the United Kingdom when they first got there, and before she was born, she today would not be a proud Nigerian British citizen. She would not. There is no way anybody would say that children that were given birth to by those of us Nigerians in the diaspora will not be, will be denied Nigerian citizenship. It doesn't happen, and it can never happen. If Nigeria is so proactive about trying to embrace the rest of African diaspora, Africans in the diaspora, whether with traceable history or heritage to Nigeria or not, because that I understand, that I know as a journalist to be an issue that is still being discussed, that Nigeria is able to provide such a proactive lead for the rest of the international community in the way it treats Africans in the diaspora. Whether that African, whether such a person migrated or left the continent as a slave several centuries, or whose ancestors left the continent as slaves several centuries before now, or the forebears left the continent several years back, say decades back, and they cannot really create the link. Nigeria is making effort to see the country as the ultimate home for every African to come back to. And you would see that trace in the recent trip of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu during his recent trip to the Caribbean.
To Brazil and St. Lucia.
That's right. Some of those things were on the table for discussion. So for Kemi Badenoch to just wake up and say that because she is a woman, her citizenship or African birthright cannot transfer to her children is a lie from the pit of hell. And I do not understand why she continues to do this. And you find the reason behind that, the justification for what she's trying to do, in the fact that she's connecting it with the relative ease, according to her. Because I don't know if anybody can describe the experience of acquiring British citizenship as being easy for Nigerians or any other international persons, for that matter. So some of these things are ideas dancing in her brain, and she unloads it on the world as if it's the unquestionable truth. This is not right, and it is all wrong. It is falsehood parading. You know what propaganda, the power of propaganda. Somebody tells a lie, like the Goebbelian, Joseph Goebbels, the minister of propaganda during Adolf Hitler's, reign from 1939 to 1945 in Germany. That is where this is coming from. Somebody pushes a lie, believes that lie, and continues to push it as if it is the reality. I think at this point, I want to agree with some individuals that think that Kemi Badenoch is dangerous, and I think she is dangerous. Nigeria does not have such a policy, and there are so many things may be wrong with Nigeria. Let us point such wrong things out. But in this case, Nigeria is doing everything possible to make sure that it has this proactive citizen diplomacy, and Nigeria is trying to provide, and Nigeria has always had that on the agenda, to be the foremost black nation that provides refuge for every black person on the face of the earth. So what she is saying is a figment of our imagination, and we challenge her to provide the proof that she's ever applied for for Nigerian citizenship for her children, and they were denied just because she's a woman. That is wrong. Nigeria is not that bad. Nigeria is not that backward. And we must be able to set the narratives properly, that Kemi Badenoch does not know what she is saying. You know, this this image of Adekodere, Kemi Badenoch, Adekodere, that is the kind of person Kemi Badenoch is. She's now in London. She dines and wines with the high and mighty in England, and so she can say all kinds of trash about the land of ancestors.
She must be enjoying the attention. I mean, what's the consistent attack?
It only lasts for a while. There is going to be a time that she will look around her and find out that she will practically be alone. And the only people she would see in that hour will be a fellow African.
Well, let me read a statement from Femi SAN Falana to you.
Femi Falana,
SAN, on this matter. I guess he just went into the constitution to pull us some stuff. He said, contrary to Kemi Badenoch's misleading claim, her children are Nigerians because she's a Nigerian. Her assertion that she cannot give Nigerian citizenship to her children because she's a woman is not in consonance with Section 25B and C of the Nigerian Constitution, which provides that every person born in Nigeria after the date of independence, either of whose parents or any of whose grandparents is a citizen of Nigeria, and C, every person born outside Nigeria, either of whose parents is a citizen of Nigeria. Furthermore, by virtue of Section 42(2) of the Nigerian Constitution, no citizen of Nigeria shall be subjected to any disability or deprivation merely by reason of the circumstances of his birth, gender, political opinions, or class. To that extent, Kemi Badenoch's children cannot be denied their Nigerian citizenship because of our gender. Therefore, like Kemi Badenoch, our two children are Nigerian citizens. The fact that the Tory leader may not want them to claim their Nigerian citizenship is totally irrelevant. Wow, shots fired.
Yes,
for now,
yes.
For now, they are dual citizens of Britain and Nigeria. It is up to the children to renounce their Nigerian citizenship upon the attainment of full age in accordance with Section 29 of the Nigerian Constitution. Kemi Badenoch also said it's virtually impossible. Now, there's our Ononuga. You know who Mr. Ononuga is?
Yeah, he's our senior colleague.
Okay.
He is our senior professional colleague and spokesperson to the Nigerian president.
Got it. He said Kemi Badenoch lied. She owes our fatherland some apology. Britain should send our lost daughter Kemi Badenoch home for a proper re-education. He said this on X.
Yes, and I agree with him. I further want to also
sorry to our chat. Babes Wind in the chat said Kemi is trying to impress British Parliament and its citizens. She can never be the PM. Wala. Shout out to Abby. Abby, I see you. Welcome. Abby said, babes, even if she does, she'll be given an extremely tough time. I don't know why she would like that
yes
way.
And let me make this additional request to the British authorities that Kemi Badenoch should be checked into a facility. She needs her system reworked, examined, and she, I think, needs rehabilitation. She may be dealing with mental situations that are beyond the ordinary. For somebody to be saying some of the what's it called, erratic things she says at times, cause for concern, and I think by now British authorities should begin to also view her as a dangerous person that should not be allowed to become British Prime Minister. Because if this points to nothing else, it shows that Kemi
They shouldn't
Badenoch,
trust her. They shouldn't trust her.
she cannot be trusted, and it shows that Kemi Badenoch is desperate.
Yeah. I agree.
And
100%.
she will go to any lengths to get whatever she wants, and that is really, really something that's got to be dealt with at the level of mental health. At the level of mental health concern. So that's my take on it, and I agree with the opinion of everybody that Kemi Badenoch is the liar.
But meta evaluation, is it that deep?
It is. It is. Yeah.
Okay.
We're talking of something that is got to do with that has got to do with issues of bilateral relations here. Until certain events of the 60s and 70s, I think when the Buhari Diagba administration misbehaved to a certain extent, it was not a big deal to recognize that any Nigerian could walk up to the British High Commission and get a visa.
Yeah.
But with the attempt to kidnap Umar Diko and what have you, and compounding things with the shenanigans perpetrated with the execution of Kensaro Wewa during the years of Sani Abacha, things got compounded. And this woman, let me withdraw that because I don't want to be chauvinistic about it. But Kemi Badenoch, with all due respect, is now setting an agenda that would further strain the cordial relationship.
She cannot be trusted. Whoever she's trying to appease, they are going to throw her right back under the bus when the timing is right. She's giving them ammunitions.
That is always the tragedy of every Uncle Tom. That is always the tragedy of every Uncle Tom.
They will remind her.
Retribution will come, and it will come real quick. For somebody to betray a race the way she is doing, a land of ancestry, the way she is doing, is only comparable in historical and in historical proportions to the denial that Jesus suffered in the hand of Saint Peter, who later became indeed a rock of the faith. Maybe at some point, Kemi Badenoch will have an epiphany and will be a rock solid defender for things Nigerian. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Speaking of certain events of the 1960s, check out the next story here. We're going to jump right into this FBI files. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, follow, turn up your notifications so you're notified when we go live. We'll be right back with this Martin Luther King story. Hang tight. All right, welcome back. FBI files on Martin Luther King Jr. exposed what they didn't want you to see. We're looking at a report on the Associated Press, apnews.com, and it says the Trump administration on Monday released records of the FBI surveillance of Martin Luther King Jr. despite opposition from the slain Nobel laureate's family and the civil rights group that he led until his 1968 assassination. The digital document dump includes more than 240,000 pages of records that had been under a court-imposed seal since 1977. when the FBI first gathered the records and turned them over to the National Archives and Records Administration. In a lengthy statement released Monday, King's two living children, Martin III, 67, and Bernice, 62, said their father's assassination has been a captivating, quote-unquote, captivating public curiosity for decades. But the pair emphasized the personal nature of the matter, urging that, quote, these files must be viewed within their full historical context. Oh, that's important. The Kings got advance access to the records and had their own teams reviewing them. Those efforts continued even as the government granted public access. It was not immediately clear Monday whether the documents would shed any new light on King's life, the civil rights movement, or his murder. And I quote, as the children of Dr. King and Mrs. Coretta Scott Kings, his tragic death has been an intensely personal grief, a devastating loss for his wife, children, and the granddaughter he never met. An absence our family has endured for over 57 years. They wrote, we ask those who engage with this release of these files to do so with empathy, restraint, and respect for our family's continued grief. They also repeated the family's long-held contention that James Earl Ray, the man convicted of assassinating King, was not solely responsible, if at all. Bernice King was 5 years old when her father was killed at the age of 39. Martin III was 10. A statement from the Office of Director of National Intelligence Toshi Gabbard called the disclosure unprecedented and said many of the records had been digitized for the first time. She praised President Trump for pushing the issue. Releases transparency to some, a distraction for others. I have a question for you, sir.
Yes. Thank God your last sentence there is touching on my feeling about the whole thing.
Yes.
But good thing that this is released. Maybe we also need to respect the request of Martin Luther King Jr.'s families that, this is so personal to them. And It's not just personal to them. Even those of us that were born after, some years after the assassination of Reverend King in 1968, we also deal with the trauma of having such a peaceful civil rights icon eliminated, crimped the way they did to him. But let me tell you, those were the years of Senator Joseph McCarthy. That is not, with this instinct to hunt. You know, the peak of Jim Crow, to hunt, to launch after persons of African descent and colored individuals whom they label the Reds, that is, communist sympathizers in this country. Not just him, the then director of FBI, Edgar Hoover, all of them, they knew what they were about. People were harassed, people were surveyed, and some of our forebears who came here as international students, but who had strong convictions, believing the false narrative that ultimately America is the land to behold when it comes to human rights standards. You know what I'm talking about. We had somebody in our family who was James, who rejected that name because, yes, because of the first-hand exposure. And he wrote very interesting poems about that when he returned to Africa and embraced and owned his African real names. So this is more than anybody would want to characterize as, Donald Trump has done Martin Luther King a favor, or the civil rights movement a favor. Because on the other hand, you see all kinds of reversals that he is setting against the achievements arising from the assassination of the late Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. You can see all that firsthand. I mean, all these things about talking about a sense of entitlement to people that have been given just a helping hand in order to be able to stand within the system, that were demonized as being for DEI or whatever they call it. Those people, you spite people on one hand, on the other, you are trying to do things to say that, oh, you are for their interest. Nobody is easily taken in by all this. And why did I characterize this release as a kind of distraction? What were we talking about before now? Denigration and degradation.
Of your own people.
Not just of our denigration and degradation of immigrants in this country.
Of immigrants.
Initially, yes, they said it's a promise made during campaign and is a promise kept during governance. But what they said, which we have always believed to be a deception, a lie, all along, was that, oh, they will be sending packing immigrants that do not have proper documentation and who have committed one crime or the other. But from what they do these days, you can even be accosted on the road, anywhere. Whether you have U.S. citizenship or not, you will first be thoroughly humiliated. I mean, the promise, did they extend to the fact that a whole senator who would demand accountability from the Secretary of Homeland will be brought down, handcuffed, and paraded before the world media. Just as we witnessed in California, did it extend to the fact that National Guard will be brought in and even back it up with draft of Marines? That was not the expectation. So that was playing on, and then the allegation there and the demand from MAGA and everybody, also some Democrats, saying they needed the file on the so-called sex trafficking with an associate of Donald Trump, who was alleged to have died in questionable circumstances while in prison. That was the debate. All of a sudden, this one is brought up now. And you saw the distractions after the immigration deportation fiasco in Los Angeles, in the state of California. Another distraction that came before that was the intervention, the involvement of the United States in the Iran-Israeli military face-off, the bombing of the nuclear facilities, in Tehran and other places in Iran. Yes, we all will unite against enemies, foreign and domestic, in the United States. But these are distractions too many.
But isn't the government designed to prioritize transparency?
Well,
regardless of how long it took. You know, I understand that
transparency is supposed to be wholesale. And from the look of things, if you followed the story of the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., like I've told you, the handing, the harassment against him by the United States institution in those days, not just against him, also against people like Elijah Muhammad, people like Malcolm X, and so on and so forth. You would understand.
Okay, just to spell this out properly, right?
Yes.
In your opinion, what would have been what would be the potential consequences of this? Because the general public are getting ready to start reviewing this and they start extracting stuff any moment, right?
Well,
what would be the potential consequences?
If there is any smoke screen detected through this, the only thing it will do or it will assist is that never again should something like that ever happen. But as to getting some people to face justice. The generation that perpetrated that, all of them, almost all of them are gone. So who are you holding accountable? The institution, maybe by way of reparation or compensation for that family.
For the family.
We don't know. Yeah, if there is an indictment and any possible link of government to that may come. But as to any far-reaching stuff, is it the same government, the present government in the United States, that is towing the same line that was told by Senator McCarthy, by Edgar Hoover, people who made sure they came after people of color, the way they are coming after people of color under this administration? What kind of justice are you expecting from them? It's a white goose chase.
Now, for those who always question why should the government be hiding stuff in the first place, for like classified information and stuff, just for educational purposes, why does the government hide this type of stuff in the first place?
I cannot provide any justification for them, because I am big about full disclosure and transparency. Even some of you who are my associates, some of you who are my family, you caution me about disclosing too much. Right. But the truth of the matter is that I know the world gains more. The world is a better place through more transparency. When you see people are so opaque, especially people who would attack media institutions, journalists, because they feel journalists disclose too much, you need to fear them. You need to be apprehensive of them, because what they are always hiding is because of their corruption, which may be innate, which may be institutional, which may be personal to some extent. So that is why we encourage transparency. And why must that be transparency? It makes for a more egalitarian society, a society where everybody has equal access and there is no deception as to what quantum of national resources ought to go for the care of the country and its citizens, instead of taking care of a personal aggrandizement. And from the foregoing, you will understand that personal aggrandizement is part of the mantra of this current government in the United States, also in Nigeria, so many places in the whole world. Nobody wants to be held. Are you listening?
I'm listening.
Nobody wants to. Yes, I can hear you. Nobody wants to be held accountable the way they ought to. And everything you read in the books about fundamental human rights, checks and balances, rule of law, and so on and so forth, you find out that more often than not, they are utopia. And we need to continue to pursue a more transparent situation. But with this government in the United States, honestly, I think their mendacity is beyond anything anybody can imagine. Their opaqueness is beyond what anybody can imagine. Otherwise, they will not be coming after the civil rights reforms triggered by the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. Those gains have been lost, and that is what they wrap up euphemistically as "Make America great again." Make America great again. It's nothing other than, they want to return to Jim Crow. They want to return to years of subjugation, years of dehumanization, years of enslaving people that they think are not as strong or do not have the same color as they have. So you see the moral hypocrisy there?
Right. Yes. Well, it seems like transparency, the battle between transparency and privacy is always a tension,
No, there's a thin line, but remove it, the world will be better. But
when it comes to politics and government, at least. Yeah.
Oh yes. Somebody is telling you, I will deal with this situation in 2 weeks' time, but overnight, bombing. That is what we're talking about there. Yes, some wisdom about not putting all your cards on the table, but also some wisdom about the hypocrisy, the deception that is the thing that defines human essence.
You know why? You know why? Because of context, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
for example, somebody said the content, the family asked for proper context when you are reviewing this stuff, historical context, because the times are obviously different and many things will be different too, right?
That's
So
right.
I don't know. It's interesting.
You know, Martin, Dr. Martin Luther King. I mean, I don't want us to dissipate too much energy or talk on this, but you will remember that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a phenomenon. One, he lived for the cause of peace. He was passive resistance personified. The only other character in history that was as good as Martin Luther King Jr. when it comes to passive resistance and not getting violent about rejecting injustices and domination and oppression will be the late Indian leader Mahatma Gandhi. You know, he was foremost about that too. But what we're saying here is that in the time the period Martin Luther King Jr. lived and was assassinated, he was so big about campaigning against the war of America in Vietnam. He was against the inhuman treatment being meted out to not just blacks, but all colored individuals, and then people that were referred to as white trash at that time. He wanted for them a good deal. Remember the strike concerning people who were driving trucks that used to remove trash and all kinds of stuff in the neighborhood, the poor pay, and how he was always looking for good trouble, but not being confrontational, but resisting. And this prediction that the time will come that there will be the unity of black, white, all kinds of people at the table of brotherhood. Remember all those things he said. Even the prediction, the night he was killed in Memphis, when he said it didn't matter to him. Yes, I'm just paraphrasing. There was a place for longevity, but that it did not matter to him that his eyes had seen the coming of the glory of the Lord, and that he had seen the promised land. He may not get in there with the rest of humanity, but that he would be able to join. I mean, to say that everything was getting better and better. That would be the context to the whole thing. And for people who were so egged in making sure that people were not truly free.
Is it that will be the context, or that should be the context?
It should be, that would be a context for what happened. And in the time and age in which we live, the person who is declassifying this, is this somebody can be truly said? Is he doing it to mock the memory of Martin Luther King Jr., or is doing it honestly to just make sure that America doesn't go back to that? But that is what he wants. That is the kind of life he wants for America, where people would suspect each other, where people would hate each other, where people... So that is why I said it's a distraction, and it is hypocrisy of the worst order.
All right, let's leave it at that. Join the conversation in the chat, everybody. Welcome, Marriott. I see you, Marriott. Join the conversation. We need to get on to the main story of the day. Senator Natasha, hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications so you're notified when we go live. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Nigerian Senate divided over Natasha Akpoti's return. Battle lines drawn. I'm looking at an article on Nigerian's Vanguard by a John Alecheno in Abuja. The Senate has asked suspended Senator Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan, Kogi Central, to respect due process and refrain from attempting to return to the National Assembly before the expiration of her suspension. In a statement issued on Sunday in Abuja, Chairman of the Senate Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Senator Yemi Adaramodu, clarified that no court No court order currently compels the Senate to reinstate the embattled lawmaker. Hey, wow. The Senate wishes to reaffirm for the third time that there is no subsisting court order mandating the Senate to recall Senator Natasha Akpoti before the expiration of her suspension, Adaramodu stated. The clarification follows reports that Senator Akpoti intends to resume plenary duties next Tuesday, that's tomorrow, citing a federal high court judgment delivered by Justice Binta Nyako. Adaramodu explained that contrary to her claims, the judgment only issued a non-binding advisory opinion suggesting the Senate consider amending its standing orders and reviewing the suspension, which the court opined might be excessive. He emphasized that the court found the Senate had not violated any law or constitutional provision in meting out the disciplinary action. Rather than issuing any mandatory order for her recall, the Honorable Court gave an advisory. It also found Senator Akpoti guilty of contempt of court and imposed a 5 million naira fine, along with a directive to issue a public apology in 2 national dailies and on our Facebook page. This directive remained unfulfilled. The Senate spokesperson said he warned that any attempt by Senator Akpoti to resume her seat under the guise of a misinterpreted judgment will be considered an affront to the Senate authority and due process. The Senate emphasizes once more there is no enforceable order directing her immediate return to the chamber, Adaramodu said, adding that the Senate will consider the court's advisory at the appropriate time and communicates the decision accordingly. Until then, he advised the suspended senator to stay away from the Senate chambers and allow due process to run its full course. So who is lying? Who is Mr. Tapita? Who is struggling with English in all of this? Over to you, sir.
They both are struggling with understanding. Yes, whether advisory or compelling, whether definitive or not, an order is an order from a law court, and that law court said the treatment, the suspension of 6 months meted out to Senator Natasha Akpoti was excessive. So, Adaramodu is trying to be clever by an inch, but of course true, Natasha Akpoti must do what is necessary now. Other than the fact that she's gone on appeal concerning this judgment, I would have said maybe there is some intent on her part to cause another opera. But do not forget that in all this, the substance of her claim that her refusal to succumb to harassment moves by the president of the Nigerian Senate was the immediate cause of whatever action, whatever drama transpired in the hallowed chamber. I don't know if you can say hallowed chambers anymore, in the chambers of the Nigerian Senate. So that fundamental premise, the basic issue, has not even been addressed at all. Was the woman sexually harassed or not? And in the immediate sense, I look at the fact that because she said she will be there today, which is the 22nd day of the month of July 2025, she said she will be there today. We haven't seen her take that kind of action.
Today or tomorrow? Tomorrow, Tuesday. She says
tomorrow is Tuesday, and I'm referring to Tuesday deliberately because it should be around Tuesday in Nigeria by now. So
okay, got you today. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yes. So she's not gone there yet, and we would not want any situation that would lead to harassment from law enforcement, whether by the sergeant at arms of the Senate or the Nigerian police or whatever relevant law enforcement agency in that country. So all we can do here is to appeal to the sense of caution in all the dramatic personnel involved in this entire chagrin. Because honestly, the people of Kogi Central Senatorial District have been deprived of their fundamental rights to be represented and be given full representation. And it is following a pattern. There is an established pattern and an evolving pattern with the current Nigerian National Assembly. For example, the elected senator for Federal Capital Territory is Senator Ireti Kingibe. And in everything that Nyesom Wike has been doing as the Minister of FCT, Ireti Kingibe is never involved, is never invited. Rather, they have chosen another individual to take her place whenever things FCT have been done. So you see that it's almost a pattern that the women lawmakers, women senators in Nigeria are deliberately sidelined and made subservient. And it's like stealing the voice, not just of women, but a whole chunk of a sizable portion of the Nigerian nation. Now, in the case of Natasha Akpoti, is the people of Kogi Central Senatorial District. In the case of Ireti Kingibe, is the people of FCT. Which government does that? And they would do everything to dump stuff, misinformation on us. Yet, you challenge them, they would want to raise umbrage and make sure that the court system comes after anybody for that matter, including journalists, in the name of social media harassment or
cyberbullying.
Cyberbullying, which is why these are some of the things we expect that they will be piling up, they will be digging up against Senator Natasha Akpoti. It's just a mere scratch on the surface at the moment. For example, all those things that they are using the instrument of state. You know, a personal face-off between Senator Akpoti and Akpabio, the Senate President, and the former governor of Kogi State, Yaya Bello, a man that is that is on trial for stealing staggering amount of money from the coffers of Kogi State. They are using the instrument of the Ministry of Justice in Nigeria to prosecute Udoha for the allegation of saying that they had connived and plotted assassination. Is it that people have not been assassinated in Nigeria before? Such mysteries are not even easy to solve when you are looking at a crime antecedents in Nigeria. So, if somebody, before she is pied, or like they say in Nigeria, before she is murdered, is raising an allegation about that, why not investigate? Why not do something else before you say, this is defamation by way of slander and libel? So it makes it somehow that people are being hamstrung in that country, particularly Senator Akpoti is being hamstrung. Yes, Akpoti. Yes, it's been hamstrung, and is a set pattern. So the National Assembly cannot say that, there is no mandatory ruling, even for its own sake, for its own image, and then for the larger world to understand that there is no deliberate attempt at sidelining or suppressing the voice of an active woman in the National Assembly. It's something they ought to do. They don't even need to wait for anybody to go into recess and reconsider whatever they have whatever they have set in motion there. You see, I do not know the kind of men who will gang up when at interpersonal level, when a man is involved in a struggle with a woman, you do not like the image crisis that will give to that average
Well,
person.
I have a
But in this
question.
case, there is no
Yeah.
sense of shame anymore. They just
Yeah.
want to fight the woman through and through, and it's almost like, yes, they must see her hand, and that is shameful, and it is disturbing, and it is unacceptable, and probably irresponsible as well.
Yes,
Yeah, you
I think
wanted to
I
ask a
think I, I
question.
think I think it's getting. I think it has been getting more and more obvious over time.
That
And welcome, Natu. Let me ask you this question, sir.
yes, sir.
I think you already spoke to it, but maybe we can just round it up like this because I'm sure this is where a lot of people's confusion will come from. This whole ambiguity between a court advisory and if it's an order, should the Senate be bound by court advisories if
Well,
if the court is literally saying that the disciplinary actions were too excessive, should they be bound? Is this something, is it a boundable thing? Because when you, so for me
yes,
as a layman
it is.
language, when you say
Yes,
advice, I can take your advice, I don't have to take your advice, but where am I off here as a normal person when you see something as an
when
advice
it
or
is an
advisory?
advisory from the law court, it must be implemented. It has to be implemented because, um, anyway, that is my simple answer to that. But
Okay.
the other thing is that Senator Akpoti, whom they are saying has not complied with the order to pay 5 million naira fine, to apology in in two widely read Nigerian newspapers, and publication on her Facebook handle tendering apology. They should remember she has gone on appeal concerning that. So until that process is exhausted, I'm suspecting that they want to work this all the way to the Supreme Court so that a lasting antecedent or precedent will be set by way of legal pronouncement that will seal the whole thing. But the Senate too should be introspective and it should do some soul searching. If they set up some rules that are not really fair, that place is not supposed to operate like a court of power. But what the setup now is suggesting that it is a place where people can be gagged, where people can be pushed around, all in the name of protection of some powerful interests and group interests. That is my take on the whole thing. The place is becoming a court of power. And on a larger scale, you see the influence of the Nigerian court of power with the demise of former President Muhammadu Buhari, the way they keep pushing some kind of narratives, which they knew deliberate on purpose. They are lying to to the citizens and pushing alternate reality kind of madness, even when they knew the way Buhari, while in power, most media houses refused to call him President Muhammadu Buhari. They were just calling him General Muhammadu Buhari retired. They didn't talk of government, they were talking of regime because his style was militaristic and corruptly nepotistic. These things they want us to forget. How can we forget in a hurry? But you know what? There could be a court of power,
Would
but
you
there is
say
also the will and the power of the people and the supreme will of God.
so I don't know if I told you this, we're rounding up, guys. Hit the like button, please hit the like button. I was having a conversation with
And share.
with some partners, and would you say, to me, that's what it looks like to me, but would you say that there's a clear struggle of balance of power between what do you call them, the judiciary in Nigeria and the legislature arm? Because the tone of that
There is no such struggle anywhere. What I understand is that
the tone, sir, is like when we have time, we will get to your to your advisory. When we have time, we will get to it. Okay, that's the
deal
tone.
is this. The deal is this. What you find increasingly in Nigeria is that the dividing line is collapsing, and the strong, that is, people who look at themselves as the ones puppeteering the Nigerian system, the people who are pulling the strings of the various levels of power in the country, they are having their way, and they have sucked in even the judiciary in that process. We don't want to talk too much because we are always leaving this space and latitude for improvement and atonement and rehabilitation and rediscovery for the Nigerian system. But as it is now, the collapse, there is no struggle between them. They are one of the same. You know, the government, in a country where Gani Fawemi used to make government kiss the dust for behaving wrongly on scores of human rights, that same country is where no citizen can predict anything or hope to get any justice today. A bank will rob banks will rob the citizens of their hard-earned money. No compensation given, and the citizens are called all kinds of names. So, you're talking of phases of fascism in all ramifications in the Nigerian government system. But on the last note, shout out to Omoyele Sowore for effectively mobilizing retired police officers to stage a nationwide protest all over Nigeria today in terms of retirement package, welfare of police, serving and retired, and we are in solidarity with these men who have always laid their lives, but they should also behave well while serving. They cannot be treating Nigerian citizens as if they are animals, or that Nigeria is a country of zombies where people can be pushed around and there is no standard about enforcement and rule of law in itself. We have people amongst these policemen, and it's been so difficult to prosecute war against all forms of crimes, whether terrorism, kidnapping, banditry, armed robbery, ritual killings, and all kinds of social vices in that country, just because of the disconnect between soldiers, between policemen, and the citizens. Citizens who you oppress all the time, they will not cooperate with you in making sure you get desired results in terms of keeping the peace and maintaining stability of the nation. God bless all of us.
All right, thank you, everybody. Yeah, I didn't know that there was a protest led by Sowore earlier today.
Yeah, it's all over the place. It's all over the place. It's all over the place. And I could even hear him jokingly telling the PSO to the Inspector General of Police that he was on illegal duty, that Egbetoku, the Inspector General, yes, ought to have retired. And that since he's still sitting in office, that PSO was doing illegal duty, protecting somebody who ought to have retired. So, quintessential Sowore for you there. God bless us. Thank you.
Yep, consistent. Yes. Yep. Thank you, everybody. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I appreciate you guys for being here. That will be it for today's show. Hit like, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications so you're notified when we do go live. Hopefully, being enlightened, educated. Take care, and God bless.